Welcome to the Luz and Dolly Show. I'm Luz.
And I am Dolly.
Kimbara kumbara kuma kimbamba, kimbara kumbara kuma kimbamba. Ah, nice. That's something new that we wanted to surprise our producer with.
Just like our sets.
Like
we are so excited.
Beautiful, amazing
today.
set. That came out nice. We practiced all morning.
We did.
We're kidding. We're so excited. We are sharing with you today the amazing power of fatherhood. We want to talk about our fathers. Happy Father's Day, Papi.
Happy Father's Day, beautiful Papi. We're really excited about this segment because, well, Luz has a different story than I do, and we just want to share it a little bit with you. And I'm so excited that we're able to share this with you, especially today in our new beautiful set. Don't you just love this?
I love this. I'm so excited. We're so grateful.
I feel like
grateful.
Oprah.
Yeah, I know. The two Latina Oprahs.
The Latina Oprahs, absolutely. I just love it. Look how beautiful it is. And we're so grateful, first of all, to our amazing producer, Chuy Serna. He has done a phenomenal, fantastic job. And continues
to surprise us.
He's brilliant. And we're very grateful to you, Chuy. So thank you so much for all that you do.
Yeah. So you mentioned, Dolly, that we have very different stories. Care to share? Want to start?
Absolutely. You know,
What's your father's name first?
My father is Luis Armando Caraballo.
Qué lindo.
And, you know, I love my father so much. I am so proud of him, and I've always been Daddy's little girl. And, you know, he is and always has been my hero. I have always looked up to him. I have always admired him. I follow his steps in entrepreneurship. You know, that's one of the things that I always tell him that I give him full credit for, because he's just been such an amazing and powerful role model in my life.
That's so beautiful.
He has.
That's a wonderful thing. I've met him, and he is a sweet soul, so he's my adopted father.
Yeah, he does call you his hija. His hija. Y la hija, y la nena.
La tercera hija.
La nena, ¿cómo está?
And in my case, my father's name is Benjamin Caro, a sweet, sweet soul. He is living in Hartford, Connecticut with his second wife. I have 3 additional sisters and another brother, and I love them dearly. But I, unlike Dolly, was not raised with my father. My mother left him when I was not 4 yet, and my little brother was not even 1 year old. And for circumstances and differences, you know, that happen in life, and she chose to make that change in her life. However, I was not raised with him, but my relationship with him is so beautiful. And you release and let go of the fact that your parent wasn't there, and for whatever reason, whether it was his fault, my mother's fault, someone else's fault, it doesn't matter. The fact that I have communication with him, and I wish it was more so, and I will make that change, but he is alive, and we need to take advantage and make sure that we appreciate our fathers when they are living and let go of any resentment and hurt.
Well, I think that's really the key here. I speak to my parents, for both mom and dad, and they live in Puerto Rico. And I miss them dearly, and I get to see them, you know, once every other year on the average, and I miss them dearly. But I do speak to them, and we laugh over the phone, and we have some great conversations. And sometimes, even if the conversation is just 3 minutes long, you know, or 2 hours long, we really enjoy the time that we're able to share. So to me, it's so valuable. My parents are my world, you know, along with my children, of course.
That's beautiful.
But it's great to have that, and I think that that in your story, I guess, forgiveness plays a big role, because he wasn't there, and there were times in your life that you wish he were.
Yes. Thank you for bringing that up. And part of today's Inspired Latina, in my chapter, I wrote of the first time I felt that I didn't belong. And it was 1975. It was my kindergarten graduation. And I remember all the little girls all excited to get their diplomas and running to their moms, but specifically to their dad. And that's the first time in my life when I realized I'm different. I am not running to my father. My father is not with me, with us, even though he was alive. So I remember since that day asking my mom pretty much every day, until my mother one day said, "You're not going to connect with him. He is no longer in our life." And I said, "No, I can't accept that. I know he's alive and well somewhere, and I love him, and I want to get to know him." And I saw him for the first time after my mother left him when I was around 9 or 10. my mother transformed a school bus into a mobile home per se, and my 5 older brothers and my little brother and I drove to the East Coast, and my mother took me to see him.
That's
And
awesome.
It was such an amazing feeling, longing for all those years, about 4 or 5 years, wanting to see and connect with him, and all of a sudden I see him, I'm excited, and he comes out with this little baby girl in his arms.
Aww.
And I'm like, oh my, someone took my spot, you know?
Aww.
Initial thought. And it was my little sister, Shirley. And I didn't know I had a little sister at that point. And my mother said, beautiful, congratulations. My father said, can our daughter stay with me for a night or two? And she said, if you let me stay with your daughter. She wanted like an even exchange at the mommy.
She wanted a baby so she could hold her.
She's resting in paradise, but she was so cute and funny. So I remember that encounter and the happiness.
So wait a minute.
Yeah. What?
Did the trade take place?
No. My mother's like, no, if you don't let me stay with your daughter, you're not keeping mine.
Oh my God. I think she wanted to make sure you came back.
Yes, that was what it was. Not, not that she wanted a younger one. But the moral of the story is the fact that I didn't give up. No matter what my mother told me, that she was afraid of what I would find out about my dad. I wanted to meet him and I wanted to feel that. And then fast forward 10 more years, I didn't see him since I was 9 or 10 until I was 20. He would try calling and reaching out to us. And I'm 20 years old. We connect. I take my little brother Benji and we go to the East Coast. And then I get to meet 2 more little sisters and another brother. And it was just such a beautiful feeling. And it never felt like they were strangers. It felt like we were one. And we're sitting down to dinner, and this story just...
And I was just about to
Is
say
it the
that.
story?
Yes, I remember that they were so happy to finally meet their older sister, Luz Maria, because Dad had always mentioned them at the dinner table. He always said, take care, God, thank you, and please take care of Benji and Luz.
And the weird thing is that you don't know that because you're living your own life without your father, and you wonder how his life or their life is without you. And then you meet your new siblings and you sit down to eat, and when Shirley looked at me and said, it's so nice to have you having dinner with us, because every day my dad would sit down and tell us about you and Benji, and may God bless them, because they're not living here with us, but they are my kids. And that, I think, is so important.
I think it's so beautiful.
That the fathers out there that are not raising the children for whatever the circumstance, it doesn't matter, that you realize that they are and will always be part of your life, and you can talk about them. And at one point in your life, you will reconnect, and those stories will flourish, because they've always been there. Oh, and that's so important.
Well, I had the honor of meeting your dad in August.
Yes.
We went to New York for that book tour for Today's Inspire Latina. And it was so beautiful because we hung out together, we shared a meal together, and we cried together because, Luz and I are very sentimental.
We're just sensitive.
That too. We're very sensitive, but it was so beautiful, and he was so proud to be there and to share that amazing experience with you.
Yeah.
Unlike Luz not having her father there in kindergarten, I remember one of the stories which I'll never forget for me was when my dad took me to school the first day of school. And my mom didn't go. My dad and I were just so close, and we still are. But my mom didn't take me to school. It was my dad. And I remember walking into the classroom, and I was happy that I was like, oh, wow, this is going to be fun. This is, cool. I'm going to make new friends, da-da-da-da. And all of a sudden, I turn around, and although I was already in the classroom, my dad was still by the doorway. And he was just watching, and I think he was having a harder time letting go of me, because it was like his little girl is now, independent, I guess, is in his eyes. And when I saw him standing there, I started crying. I was like, Daddy. And I just ran to him, and I just gave him a big hug, and he goes, it's okay. He gave me a hug back, and then he's like, it's okay, honey. It's okay. I'll be here to pick you up. And it made me feel so good, and I went back in, but it was so hard for me to let him go because I realized that he was struggling with that. But
how beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. That's so awesome. One similar encounter I had when I was having my 40th birthday, and I hadn't seen my dad another 20 years. And I reached out to him. I wanted him to be at my birthday party. it would be the first birthday party that I remember him at, and my mother was no longer living. And I'm going to the airport to pick him up, and we had, communicated where I was going to meet him, etc. And I'm walking through the airport, and I couldn't find him. And I thought, let me just take a little break. And I went to this little garden area outdoors, and I was going to take a little breath, And walking in, as I was walking out, was this gentleman. And I don't know, he had this way to him when he was walking. And he was fair and light-skinned. He was gray, gray-haired. And all of a sudden, I told myself, it would be so nice if that were my dad. And why would I think that this white man would be my dad? Here I am, all Puerto Rican, dark skin and curly black hair. And as I'm walking, I hit his shoulder, and he said, "Oh, excuse me." And I go, "Dad?" And he's like, "Lucy." It was him. It was him. And then I told him the story, and he said, "I was looking at you," and I said, "Wow, look at that woman, if that were my daughter."
Aww.
And I mean, 20 years had gone by, so we look a little different, but yeah. So that was so powerful and so beautiful. It's a story that I will forever remember. I mean, it was just 6 years ago, but the fact that here you are, not knowing what your father looks like because you're not living with him, and he doesn't know what you look like because you've not been in communication.
Wow.
Yet you get together, you make it happen, and that was the most beautiful, amazing birthday party in my life.
That's awesome.
Next to the one you threw me last year, but
that's another segment.
to have my dad. But anyway, there's just so many beautiful feelings and encounters, and whether you, as a dad, are living with your children and helping raise them, remember to tell them how important they are and how much you love them. And if you don't have that, reach out.
Reach out. I think that's my biggest thing. Luz and I have the blessing of getting to meet new people on a daily basis, and to share with so many of our friends and colleagues and so much love that we have received. And many times, unfortunately, we do get the stories about, I haven't seen my child in so many years, or my son doesn't talk to me, or my daughter doesn't talk to me, or whatever it may have been. And
let go and release and forgive.
Life is too short. Life is too short. Enjoy what you have. Enjoy the friendships. Enjoy the love. Enjoy the memories. And if there were not good memories, it's time to make new ones.
Yes.
It's time to make new ones.
And you know what? Here's to our fathers and yours.
Yes.
Happy Father's Day. I love you, Papi.
I love you, Dad.